Okay, I'm going to show you how to mix chemistry in the AFW lab. I'm going to use the stirrer. You don't have to use the stirrer, but I like using it, and I suggest you do. But you can just do things in a jug with a conventional stirrer, but it means you just have to stir like this all the time. Well, until it's all dissolved. Whereas with a magnetic stirrer, if you put the stir bar in, it will rotate like this. So you would put the stir bar in the bottom of a jug, and then if you do this naturally enough, it'll spin. Now you can go way too fast, and it'll jump off. So don't do that. Just go so fast that it keeps rotating but doesn't jump off. Okay, one thing to know about this hot stirrer is it's actually a hot plate stirrer. This knob here controls the temperature of this plate. Now that's great if you're using glass or metal, but not when you're using plastic. And we always use plastic, so I'm going to take this shut off like that. Right? This is dangerous, but so don't let this go hot. Just use this knob here, which is the stirrer. That's the magnetic stirrer control. Okay, now there are formulas on the wall for the various things you want to mix. There are chemicals here. Right. Rule number 1 when mixing powdered chemistries from an ingredients list: always mix them in the order shown. There will be a reason for the order that the chemicals are in. So don't just say, oh, it needs these ingredients, I'll just throw them all in, or I'll throw them in any order. No, throw them in the order they're listed, and wait till they've each dissolved before you put in the next one. That's very important, because some things won't dissolve if they're in the presence of something else, you know, and so it has to be in the right order. Now, to dissolve powdered chemistry, you really need to be at about 50 degrees. You know, that's a good temperature to aim for. What I tend to do is not worry about the exact temperature. I use the kettle and cold water. So I put in a bit of cold water and then some kettle water, which is very hot. Now, if I'm mixing, 1.66 is a good volume to mix. Generally, with chemicals, I'll put in some water to begin with that's not as much as I want to finish with. I'll put in, say, a litre or just over a litre or something like that. Then I'll put in the chemistry, dissolve it, and when it's dissolved, then I'll add cold water up to the rest, up to the total amount that I want, and then give it one last stir. Okay, come over here. We're going to use a scale to measure what we want. So I'm going to use this little drug scale to think. It has a cover on it. Take the cover off. If you don't take the cover off, it doesn't work like the previous take. Now, with any scale like this, you need to zero it, and that's done by pressing the T button for tare. Right, that zeroes it. Now, let's say, I'll take a chemical, let's say I want 15 grams of borax. Okay, I'll use a spoon, plastic spoon. Now, if I was to pour this in like this, I can do that, but it will create more airborne dust. It's always better to use a spoon if you can, especially for things that are a little bit noxious, like potassium dichromate. Anything orange is a bit noxious. So a spoon creates less dust. So here we go. I'm going to do this. Now this is, so I've gone too far already. I wanted 15 and it's 17.35, so I'll take a bit back. Now, normally the official procedure for a commercial lab or a serious lab is that if you put in too much, you spoon it out and throw that extra chemical down the sink or in the bin or whatever. But this is just borax, so I'm going to put it back. But if it was, if there was a risk of contamination, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't put it back. But for our purposes, it's usually fine just to put it back if you've gone too much. Okay, so there's our 15 grams of stuff, in this instance borax. So chuck the spoon in the sink. Now if you have more to measure, you'll use another beaker or a plastic cup and another spoon, and then chuck them in the sink. So here we are, here's our borax. Turn my stir bar on. Just fast enough. Pour that in. Now this one, put in the sink. If there are more chemicals to add, you can leave that stirring. Go over here, mix some more powders, you know, in the usual way, same way, and then once the first ingredient is dissolved, then you add the second ingredient. And then while that's stirring, you can go and prepare the third ingredient, and then pop that in. Each time using a different plastic cup or a different beaker and a different spoon, and just chuck them in the sink. Once you are happy that the contents are adequately dissolved, in fact what I might do, I'm going to measure 20 grams of sodium carbonate and put that in. Let's pretend that's the next ingredient. It's going to take a little bit of stirring time. The borax seems to stir in very quickly. Fresh spoon. For colour work, it's almost always the case that you need a scale with 2 decimal places. For black and white work, normally not. Normally just 1 decimal place is enough. Okay, so in with the carbonate. And you see it's taking some little while to dissolve. So you might want to leave that for another 5 minutes, and that's why it's convenient to use the magnetic stirrer rather than the mechanical stirrer. Rather than stirring with a rod. Temperature matters a lot for dissolving. So as I say, it wants to be at least 50 degrees. This is a problem if you're going to then want to use this as a developer for black and white, where you want to bring the temperature down to 20 or 21 degrees. And that's partly why it's good to dissolve it in as little hot water as necessary, and then add cold to bring it up the rest of the way. That's going to help. Once you've got the full level of chemistry that you want, and you need to cool it down, the best way to cool it down is by using a container of cold water. I mean, this tub will do. You could sit the bottle or the jug or whatever in a container of cold water. You sit it in the cold water, and after 10 minutes, take it out, empty that, put in fresh cold water and sit in it again. Changing the water after the first 10 minutes makes a huge difference to how quickly it cools down. It should get to temperature in about half an hour, come down from being hot in about half an hour. If you're dealing with chemicals that have been mixed on a previous day and you need to heat them up, then you use the heating up jug, which is open at the top. And you can pour in some boiling water. And sit the, go a bit more, about that much is probably good, about that much, and sit the bottle in this jug of boiling water, and it'll quickly increase in temperature. Now when using one of these glass thermometers to measure temperature, what I do is stir like this, and lift the thermometer out while the bulb is still in the chemical, of course. Okay, that's saying 15. Give another go, another stir. Yep. As opposed to just measuring the top temperature or the bottom temperature, what you want to do is get the liquid, mixed with it amongst itself, and give yourself the best chance of getting the average temperature with the bulb. So that's how you use these. That's going up a couple of degrees now. Yeah. To get that from room temperature up to 36 degrees or 38 degrees will take about 5 minutes in a boiling water. Rinse the thermometer before you put it back. I think our work here is done.